In this video, I'll be talking about the Yusu V2M, which is the new 4x4 from the Yi V2M series, budget series that so far, what I've heard about it and what I've tried from it is quite good. First, I'm going to measure this 4x4. It's 61.5. So this makes it slightly bigger than an older generation 4x4 like the Guansu. In comparison to the Aosu GTS V1 and V2, so I'm using a V1 and I currently don't have a V2 in my possession. You can see that the Yusu V2M does stand a small bit taller. And just to be even more specific, I'm going to measure the individual layers. The inner layers are exactly 15mm, while the outer layers are slightly under 16. So this cube does have bigger outer layers, which makes it nicer to handle during the 3x3 stage. What the Yusu V2M did in 2019 is similar to what the Guansu did in 2016. So the Guansu is one of the fastest and the smoothest and the most stable 4x4s of 2016. Of course, it's not comparable to the 2019 flagship cubes, but in 2016 it does offer a challenge to the flagship 4x4s at the time, such as the Yixing Blue and the old batch Aosu. The Guansu is very comparable in every way, and sometimes it's even better in like basically all the performance aspects except for reverse corner cutting. So the original Guansu has a very square design and the reverse corner cutting is quite limited. But I Florian-modded my Guansu and I basically took care of that problem, so that cube has no problems reverse corner cutting about half a piece and forward corner cutting is somewhere around one piece. So the Yusu V2M offers a similar challenge to the flagship 4x4s of modern day, but unlike the Guansu, it already comes with a Florian mod incorporated into the design, so you can see the outer holes are visibly bigger than the inner holes. The cube also corner cuts fine, so about half a piece, and it's about the same amount as what the Florian Guansu can. As for forward corner cutting, it can go slightly further than a piece, and maybe even quite close to 45 degrees. The corner cutting on the Yusu V2M has that very stable feel that the Aosu GTS also has. So this kind of feel is slightly reminiscent of the original Yexiao, where it's slightly springier and slightly more stable, and the cube doesn't feel like it's flexing around when you corner cut. The Yusu V2M combines several performance aspects from the best 3 4x4s on the market, so it does have a bit of that hard plastic feel. It does have some stripes on the side, and this gives rise to a feel that's quite close to the Aosu GTS 2. And the weight of this cube in general is quite similar to the GTS 1. And this cube also has a slight tightness that reminds me vaguely of an Uche, although the Uche is just a crunchier and slower cube that hits for a different kind of taste. So the Yusu has more in common with the two versions of the Aosu GTS. The Yusu is a very nice feeling cube, and it turns smoother than the Yichuang 5x5. The Yichuang has a minor problem where the outer layers are a lot faster than the inners, making the cube feel inconsistent, while the Yusu is far more consistent than its 5x5 counterpart, with both the outers and the inner layers feeling the same. Out of the box, the Yusu V2M is slow and the layers feel a bit heavier to turn, but after using the puzzle and breaking it in for a short while, it becomes quite comparable in speed to the Aosu GTS 1, although I still think the Aosu is a little bit faster, but there's really not a lot of difference. The magnets in the Yusu are very weak, almost to the point where you can only feel the snap if you purposely turn very slow, but they do add stability to the cube and prevent the layers from slipping, so basically this cube reaps all the benefits that magnets should bring except for the snapping feel, which may or may not be a good thing depending on whether you view the snap as an invasive feel or something that helps you turn accurately. I'm going to do a mechanism comparison between the Yusu V2M and the Aosu GTS V1. Both cubes use that double anchor design. You can kind of see here, I tend to call this the owl mechanism, but if you look a bit more closely, out of the two anchors, the smaller one here is a little bit bigger for the Aosu GTS V1 and a little bit smaller for the Yusu V2M, while with the other corner base, the bigger one at the back here, is a little bit bigger in the case of the Yusu V2M and a little bit smaller for the Aosu GTS 1. But just a very minor proportion difference, but apart from that, the raw design is very similar to the Aosu GTS 1, but the Yusu V2M also does take a little bit of design cues from the Aosu GTS 2. So in the GTS 1, the corner head is just rounded on top here and it just follows the original blocky design. The Yusu V2M, you can tell that the corner head does resemble the Aosu GTS 2 a bit, with it gets gradually rounder as you go out, but then when you reach the tip it's slightly more squared off, although it's still quite round. And this is like more in common with the 3x3s, except that they don't fully square it off, because 3x3 is much more prone to corner twist than 4x4. So compared to what I would likely expect from the Falcon 4, which I have not tried, and the GTS 2, which I have tried but I do not have one in my possession, the Yusu would likely stay in the budget realm and not fully ascend to the realm of the flagships unless your turning style specifically fits what this cube offers. However, it does blur the line between what's a flagship and what's a budget cube when compared to the slightly outdated but still very viable generation of flagships, specifically speaking about the Aosu GTS V1 and the original Wuqie and also the mini Wuqie. Still slightly prefer my magnet stack GTS 1 over the Yusu because of the stronger magnets, and this makes the cube a bit more reliable, and I also do prefer the smaller size of the GTS 1, which is 61, as opposed to the Yusu V2M, which is 61.5. However, I do think that the Yusu V2M might be slightly better than the stock GTS 1 without the magnet stack mod that I did. It might also be better than the Wuqie M without a spring compression. Compared to what the budget 4x4 market has to offer, there is currently no competition for the Yusu V2M. The best fully budget 4x4 before the Yusu V2 is still the Guansu from 2016, and all the semi-budget cubes like the Qi Thunderclap and the Shengqiu Fangyan 4x4s don't quite compare to the Yusu V2M at all. The market hasn't really seen a good budget 4x4 since 2016, and most budget cubes that come after the Guansu usually just lack something major. Most budget 4x4s have like very restricted corner cutting, and some of them catch internally, unlike the Guansu where it catches externally, so the Florian mod can save it, but for quite a number of budget cubes, a Florian mod is also not going to save the cube. And then in some cases, like the budget 4x4s can also be very horribly slow, like the Qian, and some of them can explode, like the Kung Fu 4x4. While the Yusu, on the other hand, doesn't seem to lack anything important at all, and I have no problems getting my normal averages with it. So for now, even though I don't think this is going to be the number one 4x4 out there, maybe the third or the fourth best 4x4 out there, the Yusu V2M is definitely the best cube if you want a cheap 4x4.